friends, it's Nancy, and I'm working on another patchwork cover. And I know I said I wasn't going to film another series about making a patchwork journal, but I thought, okay, I didn't really go over how to do the embroidery. So in this case, I had to use what I could get. So I adhered all of my vintage fabrics to this paper. It's called Heat and Bond. So it's paper, but it has glue, and you use a hot iron to glue it. And the paper is removable, and then you can glue the fabric down to something, but I'm just leaving it on the paper. The last one I used a sulky fabric stabilizer, and I tried to find some online because of course nothing's open, but I saw it on Etsy for like $3, but the shipping was going to be $18. So yeah, I didn't get it, and I didn't bother contacting the seller to say, hey, is it really going to be $18 to send it from Illinois? Anyway, so last time I did yellow, pink, and purple. This time I'm doing red, white, and blue. This part in the center is this is a kind of embroidery called chicken scratch, and I just found this piece in amongst some secondhand fabrics that I purchased, and I thought, well, that's going to be nice, like right on the spine of the journal. So I centered that. Now the white stitching that you see going across and vertical and horizontal, I should say, how I did that was I just penciled some lines. So I put the first line down the center, and then measured 2 inches away, and then penciled this in the center of that chicken scratch and 2 inches away. And then I set my sewing machine for a very long stitch. Didn't put any thread in the stitch, and I just sewed across the lines so that I would see where to stitch. So that's how come the stitches look so even. Now I'm working on the embroidery, and I'm doing a selection of both blue and red, just to stitch down the edges of the fabrics. A little bit of fraying is okay with me, but I don't want a ton. So how I do this, I've got my ruler, and I've got my pokey tool. So I'm going to lay my ruler here. I'm going to see if I can get in a little closer. Doesn't look like I can. So I'll bring my ruler up to show you. So on this little ruler, it's marked off every 1/4 inch. Sorry, that's a lie. It's marked off every 5 millimeters. Do you see that? You see that grid? So that grid is 5 millimeters, which is about a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to lay, I want to do a line of embroidery here. So I'm going to just lay my ruler across where I want to go. And even though the fabric lumps up a bit there, I want the line straight. So I'm just going to poke every 5 millimeters. Got a telephone book underneath. And you don't need to, dig a big hole. You just need to poke through the back of the Heat and Bond. And I'll turn it over. And I want a matching set of holes 5 millimeters apart above. So I just put the grid right on the holes. And poke. Just going to mark these a little better for me to see. And for you to see, I mean. Now, if I wanted to, I could put in, if I want like really, really small cross stitches, like I did here. And here I did small cross stitches. I just put an extra hole in between, so they're 2.5 millimeters apart. Or if I want to do a different kind of stitch, like, oh here, this one I did sort of a zigzag. So I did a row of stitches, or sorry, poke holes. And then instead of doing the holes across from each other, I just shifted it a little so that I could make a zigzag. But we're going to do a big cross stitch like this one. Now I had a needle and thread. It's probably attached to something. Or I probably dropped it on the floor and I'll find it the hard way. So let's grab another needle. Where were we working? Can't remember. Oh. We were working down here on this piece. So I'm just using ordinary floss. But I'm only using one strand. There's not a lot of sense in using up all your floss to do this job. One strand's fine. Unless you're doing a chain stitch. I'll show you an example of that. Then you'll want to use a double strand. Because it needs a little more thickness to be seen, really. So there's a little bit of chain stitch here. And chain stitch, I just do one set of holes, 5 millimeters apart. I have a hole in my bucket. I have a knot in my thread already. Isn't that what I want? There we go. Took it out. So all of these fabrics are secondhand, and most of them are actually feedsack fabrics. So they're vintage. The color palette, so the manufacturers use the same colors, so that's why the color palette matches so well. You know, the blues are the same blues and the reds are the same reds. Gotta get my coffee on. Okay. I'm just bringing up my needle here. And then it will be coming right there. Now, oh, I don't like this needle. It's a little too thick. Now I'm not going to look at the top for a bit. I'm just going to do these little sideways stitches. I'm sewing a cat hair into it. Jeez. I hope you can see this okay. It would go a little faster if I had a needle that was a little thinner. The one I had ready was thin, and I'm going to drive that right into my foot. I just know it. I just know it. I'm going to find it the hard way. So once I've got all the embroidery done, I'll be adding some dimensional embellishments, buttons, lace, rickrack, maybe some appliques. Okay. So you see the first leg of the X's there. And then I'll put that needle back down through. Now I'm sewing in one of my hairs. Using an actual embroidery needle is very effective because they are very thin. And shorter. And sharper. So I hope everybody's doing well. So this is week 3. I missed that hole. I came out the hole where the white thread was instead of coming out this hole, but that's okay. Nobody's going to see that from the back of a galloping camel. I'm just tying this off. And there is our cross stitch. So that's all I wanted to show you today. Unless, well, we've been 15 minutes. Unless you want to see how I do the shorter cross stitches, maybe I'll tie one more knot. I'm gonna go into work this morning for a bit. I think it'll just be me and Jordan's there today answering the phones. But we will keep our distance from one another. He's sending me regular photos of his cats, and I'm sending him regular photos of our cat. I think this is a sharp, what's called a sharp. I'm not sure if that's coming in or not. It's kind of got like sort of a light bulb end to it. It's okay. It's okay for hand stitching, but not my favorite. Okay. So this time I'm going to do, let's do right here. So I'm going to lay my ruler across there again. Now, I don't want to put it a full, because I'm doing smaller cross stitches this time. I don't want to put it a full 5 millimeters. I'm just going to put it like 2.5 millimeters across, or above, I mean, 2. Now, I'm going to add an extra hole in between each hole. If you don't have a pokey tool, you can just use a big darning needle. Bring that needle up. And I'm just rolling the fabric down so it's easier to hold. Now, there's going to be space between each cross stitch. Okay. So instead of the there being a ladder of stitches, there's going to be slants. Whoops. I see, I just about did that wrong. So instead of stitching into the one across it, I'm stitching one below. So yeah, it takes a long time, but I really enjoy embroidery. It's, you know, something you can hold in your lap while you watch TV. Okay. So you can see these are smaller, and there's more distance between each of the little X's. And this time, on the back, it's going to look like X's, because we're not going into the stitch next, we're going to the stitch above. And yeah, it takes a lot of time, but what else have we got right now but time, right? I had a Skype meeting with our staff yesterday, and I so badly wanted to ask my boss, how much longer is it going to take? Knowing full well she knows about as much as anybody else. Okay, so that's what that little cross stitch looks like. Anyway, if you thought this was interesting, let me know if you have any questions. I know it's hard to get supplies right now. Everything's closed. But if this is something you're interested in doing, contact me through Instagram or Etsy or however, or even through YouTube, if you would like me to put together the fabrics that you need, or even if you need the heat and bond, and I'll see what I can do. I have quite a lot of green right now. I do have more red and blue. I do have pink and purple. So if this is something you're interested in trying, let's talk about it, and I'll see what I can do to hook you up with the supplies that you need. Okay? All right, I hope you're having a good day. Carry on, and stay isolated and stay safe. Bye-bye.